All right, Nate, you ready to get punked in the clouds?
Yep.
Nate, you and I checked out Cloudpunk this week, and to be honest, dude, I was pretty excited to jump into this game. This has a very unique art style. It's got this kind of Minecraft-esque dungeons look to it, and I was rather intrigued by the style for sure. And then the story, well, Nate, I think that's kind of where we have a bit of an issue, is the actual story. What's going on is there's a mystery to this whole Cloudpunk delivery service, and it's intriguing, but dude, it is so slow to get this thing going. They want you and I were talking briefly off camera about how they want you to get immersed into the world, but yet the world is cool, but that the world still feels boring. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. Yeah, dude. Like, basically, the whole premise of the game is you are a glorified delivery driver. You go from point A to point B and sometimes to C to either pick up a package or a person and deliver it. And there are some options within some of these deliveries. You know, you can kind of make some moral decisions.
Sure.
Whether or not you think, you know, without spoiling too much, one of them, there was a ticking package.
Yeah.
So, you know, the whole time you and your computer, who's your co-pilot dog
Camus.
thing,
Yeah.
Camus, you know, you're kind of discussing like, oh, I have bad feelings about this. So you have the option to throw it in the trash chute, so it will, you know, explode or whatever it might be, just out of the way, or deliver it to the proper location. So Drew and I actually did two different things.
That was
and
cool.
they actually had different outcomes. So that's where I'll kind of leave it. But, you know, as you further play the game, like Drew was saying, there's kind of this underlying, you know, weird kind of bad feels that you're having for this delivery service. Now, granted, they do tell you that it's an illicit delivery service. So it's, you know, you're not really working for the government, but you do a couple things where it's a little shady. And yeah, I don't know. It's weird though, man. Like, it's so slow. You go from one mission to the next, and often you'll complete your delivery, and then you'll be sitting there waiting for a couple minutes, sometimes even 10 minutes for your next objective, where then you just have to drive to the other side of the city, where it's like, you know, maybe if I knew where my objective was, I could have been driving and, you know, listening. So I found there's a lot of poor pacing decisions in this, where you're kind of just stuck sitting there.
No, absolutely.
Or then just driving.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more, Nate. The pacing within the game is so out of sync, to be honest, because, like you said, dude, I sat there for 5 minutes. I had no objective, nowhere to actually go, and I sat there as Rania and Camus had a conversation, and I drove around in circles. I'm like, where am I going? What am I doing?
So the big thing is with this game is you're kind of really meant to just explore the world. Like, there are all sorts of people to talk to and merchants and stuff, and this is where the game mostly drew me in. I think, like, after a couple of deliveries, I just kind of moseyed around and talked to a couple people. One of the people, they needed their punch card, so I ended up, you know, I have like 20 punch cards I have to find throughout the whole entire city. So that was kind of like your classic fetch quest.
Sure.
And then another one, there was completely side quests where I found this guy walking around, android rather, and he wanted to be dropped off at this place, and you kind of find out that he's actually male escort. You have the option to actually deliver him to where he's supposed to go, or bring him to a safe location. So I thought that was kind of cool. You know, you get these conversations happening, and you kind of see the world building and just the whole feel of it all. But again, it's just the pace. That's where it all comes back to. It's just a little too slow, I think.
Absolutely.
Hello? Are you the elevator that eats people?
I am Gorgothwa, child of Kara and destroyer of worlds. Hear my roar and quake in fear.
Uh-huh. Listen, Gorgothoa, my friend Joe isn't getting any business because people can't use you as an elevator anymore. Any chance you could go back to just moving people up and down?
So Nate, not only is there, like, there's the intriguing story, but it's so slow as we've touched on, but there's also other issues. When Rania stands still outside of her haba, she continually stretches for hours on end. Dude, it's like a repeated stretch, and her arm goes out, and her arm goes, and I'm like, what do you, nobody stretches like that often. The other couple of issues I had was the actual transition from one location into the next. It lags out. I'll be in the middle of a gameplay sometimes, and that'll lag on me. I'm like, man, this game doesn't seem like it'll be that complex that we're experiencing this lag. Now, I'm on an Xbox One X, and
I'm actually on the Series X, and I didn't quite get a lag, but man, so if you're in third-person perspective, because you have the option between third and first when you're walking around the town, and if you're in third person, there's kind of that weird lag, and you'll see in the video behind me, it just like it does this weird pan into vision where you're like, whoa, that just doesn't feel right. But first person, it actually makes sense. You kind of zoomed in, and I'm like, okay, but it's just weird, man. I'm just like, third person, it just really throws you off.
Did you walk around in third person?
I did a little bit. They give you 3 perspectives. They actually give you the option to do the outward side-scrolling perspective, which is cool, I guess. But honestly, most of the time, I just did first. I found that was more comfortable, and the field of view is easy to use.
That's fair. I did third person, and when you're in third person, your character, I felt, was always tilted to the side like this, but yet would walk that way. Like, you know what I mean?
Totally.
Rania wasn't straight on in running. She'd be turned on an angle and then go. I'm like, what is? Dude, I just felt so disconnected from the game, and that was unfortunate because I really wanted to get into this one.
I guess it was nothing. We did our job, Camus. We shouldn't ask so many questions.
I am not sure.
You want to say something?
If it is okay?
Sure.
Is this a job good?
It pays good.
Are we doing good things?
No more questions, please, Camus.
Okay, Nate, I think we've been playing Cloudpunk long enough. We're getting our head out of the clouds. What do you score in this one?
This one I found was a little bit tough because there's some boring, moments, and the pacing is kind of off. Some of the jankiness within the screens, but I can honestly say this is gonna get a 6. I appreciate that there are voiceovers for all the characters in the game. You're not really stuck reading much, and honestly, the world they created, it looks pretty cool and is very interesting.
That's fair. I think the world building is there. Honestly, it's just so slow. And the overall game just really appears boring. Lag is everywhere when you're on the Xbox One. I'm on the X, and I'm having issues there. There's just so many other issues. I'm just like, I had a hard time playing this game. I'm there with the 4.
An interesting world to explore with lots of lore and quests, but the pacing of the game really makes this glorified delivery service job kind of boring.
Are you never slow, Joe?
No, I am currently very slow, Joe. You got my converter?
Yeah.
Thanks, Cloudpunk. I'm gonna give you this old one. It's busted, but if you get it back to Emmett, he can fix it up and sell it on for a good handful of limbs.
These converters are worth a lot of money?
Well, they sure are. I owe Emmett, so you make sure it gets back to him safe, you hear? Without the trade-in value in that busted converter, I wouldn't be able to afford this repair. My racing days would be over. Early retirement. I'd go mad.